Following a season that could shockingly be declared as successful, at least relative to what we've done in this series thus far, and in comparison to where we thought we would have been, we are now here at another draft, and yet again, the pressure is on. We go from expecting to have the number 1 pick to actually having the 6th overall pick in this draft, and the standard for me isn't any lower. You guys are expecting results, and thus far, my draft history has been hit or miss. Last year, we started the trend towards the more positive direction, and we need to keep going in that direction. Time will tell if things go relatively well for us. I do want to get to your comments before we jump into this episode. Theo, I appreciate your support with the series. I'm glad you're enjoying it. A lot of you guys saying how much you're enjoying the series, and I'm glad to hear it. Unfortunately, it can't be daily as it is. I miss some upload days here and there, and between NHL and FIFA and Madden, there's just so much. MLB is going on. There are other games that I want to play that aren't currently in the rotation. It's a little bit ridiculous, but I'm glad you're enjoying the series, and I will at least try to have those daily uploads to limit it to every couple of days at the very least. Ian, I will go through the league stats at the end of the year. We'll check, passing leaders, rushing leaders, and all that stuff. Bills Mafia. You're incorrect on that. I have run franchise, including, I think I showed the Patriots one in the Bills series, but I have an offline series, 100% on the XP sliders, didn't change anything. I have multiple 90 overall players, including a 99. So to say that I'm never going to get a 90-plus player is just flat out incorrect. Adama, move one of your centers to left guard. Of course, we made sure that all 4 O-linemen that we had drafted were playing on the O-line last year. But yeah, I'll be moving around positions and getting people to their highest overall points. And math, here's the thing. You wouldn't be wrong in that, more than likely, sure, a middle linebacker would have won. But with the way the poll's set up, with it not being, select the one guy you want, with it being, multiple choice and everyone having the option to select who they want to select, we're going with who won, which brings me to this draft. Let's do it. Again, we have the 6th pick, and by a popular demand, it came down to Baldwin, Ricks, and the man that we are taking. George Christie out of USC is going to be the pick. Now look, this is on you guys. I mean, I agree, Christie or Baldwin. We'll find out who would have been the better pick. George Christie won the poll. George Christie is a normal development type. Now the good thing is, he's a 79, so he's a useful player, of course. He's 21, so I'd bet the farm that development's going to go up to quick. But if Baldwin is amazing, then that really complicates things. He's 8th in true talent. We get him at 6. Time will tell whether or not that works out. Again, he's not bad. He improves the team. But is he, future multi-time Pro Bowler? I don't know. I don't know. Time will tell. Again, we will go back through all of these picks. Let's see, though, who is still available here in the 2nd round. Hopefully we have some good options. So running back, we're not going to worry about anybody. Nobody from the 1st round who was actually a 1st-round talent fell. Wide receiver-wise, nobody fell either. I'm going to double-check to make sure that nobody fell down the board before we take a look at people who were actually projected in the 3rd round. Henry Waddy is a 2nd-round talent, apparently. We do not have a single tight end on the roster. That might not be a bad shout. We are still looking to get a little bit of O-line help. Ray Ofenheusle. The Ofenheusle actually looks pretty good. Ofenheusle right now is the pick, I would say. Angel Dyer, another offensive lineman. I like Ofenheusle a little bit better. Is there anybody else? Dweke, would it be? And Morgan Oliver. Let's take a look at these two. He's a power rusher with a low bench. I don't like that. And Morgan Oliver, speed rusher. Ooh. So Morgan Oliver could really help craft out that D-line, but Ofenheusle has a great name. Newkirk, Mack right. I mean, there's quite a bit of defensive line talent here. Quite a bit indeed. Linebacker-wise, B.J. Long is available as well. The 23-year-old. Speed's nothing too crazy. Agile, strong, shedding tackle, pursuit as well for the 23-year-old. That's a rough one. Middle linebacker, nobody fell down the board. And then Allen Bridge. Allen Bridge, fairly strong. And of course, we could look to take another corner just to round it out and not have to worry about it for a while. And for that reason, let's take a look at Ish Ransom, who is pretty goddamn good. I gotta be honest, that I would really like to end up with him on this team, actually, but it's not gonna happen. I'm gonna go with my gut on this one, and I'm gonna take the O-lineman because we need one. We're going for Ray Ofenheusle. Let's do it. I'm fine with that. Again, 76 overall, normal development, but he's 21. Odds are we see him jump up to a quick development pattern sooner rather than later. So I'm fine with that. He's now, of course, our second best offensive lineman. So Ofenheusle, welcome to the team, sir. Very happy to have you here, and I'm very content with that pick. Of course, in about 5 to 10 minutes, we'll find out once we're looking at who we didn't pick, whether or not that was the right choice. But I feel good about it for the moments. Also available still, again, not worried about any running backs. Is there anybody in the second round? Oh, or who is projected for the second round that is still on the board? Unfortunately, hey, B.J. Long. Okay. B.J. Long is still there. And he is the highest rated guy left on the board. All right, so let's look third, fourth round. So running backs, of course, we have Hughes. Not worried about it. It'd be nice to get a secondary option, but that is what it is. Steets is fullback. We already have Weaver. So while Steets, I think, is going to be much, much better, I would not be surprised if he has quick or star development. Not at all. I got to be honest. But I don't think we can waste another pick unless he falls down the board. Wide receiver-wise, we have our big three right now in Farrell, Jenkins, and Mack. Harvey Thornton's available. And there were comments saying, hey, don't worry about fast receivers later on in the draft. But goddamn, Harvey Thornton. It is very tempting. Although the vert jump isn't quite where you'd want it to be. So again, if he doesn't beat the defender with speed, he's done for. Terrell Olsen as well. We'll look at fourth rounders. 6'3", decent vert, solid hands. Terrell Olsen actually might be a decent option. Not fast, not agile, but a good jump and good hands. Could be what we need, and especially too, we're not shy in terms of changing wideouts over to tight end, so that could work. I just can't help but think, what if one of these guys happens to be solid? But again, we don't need it. Steets I am tempted by. Terrell Olsen could work. Tight end wise, Patrick Savage is fairly well-rounded, 21 years old. Again, we need tight ends on this team, so that might not be the worst idea. There's also Graham Kimmerin. Kimmerin, that's a name apparently, who is not as well-rounded in his 23, so I have a feeling he'd just be kind of meh. But, I don't know, we'll contemplate that. As far as the offensive line goes, again, we do have 5 O-linemen. So it's not an extreme need. Defensive line and linebacker right now needs to be the focus, unfortunately. But it's at least worth checking to see, okay, do we have a player who's absolutely worth taking? Like Brian Bass, he's probably okay. He might even be better than one of the options we have. Agile type, he's 23, he is agile as hell. So that could work. And in terms of taking somebody off the board, because the AI loves to do it, Cody Ferenz, 22 years old, agile, strong as hell, could also be a really good option. But it's whether or not we want to try to improve upon who we already have, or if we just go for team need at this point, which I think we do have to go for team need, unfortunately. I'm not seeing anybody who's just, mind-blowing in terms of, oh my god, we have to get this guy, although Hudson Bowman is probably okay as well. So on that defensive line right now, we only have Walls and Christie, who we just took. Ray Holloway is available. Speed rusher, he's 24. He's not going to be that great, but he's better than the alternative of having the worst free agent play the role. Jermichael Holland as well, not great, obviously. And Wes Strickland is at least 21, but that's going to be a low overall, man. That's the problem. We need that defensive line help, but it's not looking too good. We might have to take other defensive tackles to fill out this roster. So Adonis Tofield is at least strong. Doesn't have great speed and agility, of course, for the 23-year-old. And Addison Lamb is 24. Hello, Addison Lamb. Now, he's 24 years old, but he should have a strong starting overall. And not to mention, as a speed rusher, we could easily put him on defensive end. I think Addison Lamb right now is the favorite. Although, B.J. Long comes down to Lamb or B.J. Long. Long is still on the board after not being taken. Carradine on the board. Pashos and Ornstein. We have 2 linebackers drafted, 2 defensive linemen drafted. Lamb or Long. If BJ Long was 21, I'd take him for sure. Ah, that's so tough. This is the make or break moment right here. This is it. Oh, God. Do we take someone who we know isn't going to be getting much better, but he'll have a decent starting overall? We have to hope. The bench press is low, but obviously I'm not won over by the 40 time, the vert time. It's the fact that he's a speed rusher, and sure, it's not saying much that a defensive tackle has decent numbers, right? It's not saying much, but oh, boy. God damn. Here's the thing, right? We don't have a ton of defensive linemen left, and we don't have a ton of linebackers left. And as it is, B.J. Long as a run stopper might be better for me. B.J. Long. Ah, okay. Well, he's still better than who we have. The alternative of nothing. We at least get 3 linebackers onto the team. Normal development at 23, 74 overall, so he is not going to be an amazing player for us, but he can play the role that we need him to play. And again, we go from having a 60 overall there to a 74. So I'm okay with it. We'll see what the hell that defensive tackle. Oh my God, is he still there? Oh my God. He's not. Damn it, that's right, it was Tofield. I saw Tofield there, and I'm like, maybe he's still there too. He wasn't, so. Right. Who the hell do we go for next? So, in terms of the big board, again, we got a couple of running backs. The fullback's off the board. Harvey Thornton is still on the board. We got a couple of 5th-round options at wideout, including 6'6" with an ungodly vert jump and solid hands, Ricardo Marshall. He might be the guy to take here. Alan Blankenship is 6'3". Fairly well-rounded, but I prefer Marshall. And Witzel, the Witzel, is also okay at 6'2". But yeah, right now, the pick is Ricardo Marshall. We're here in the 4th round, and the pick is Ricardo Marshall, I'd say. Again, I wouldn't mind even saying drafting like a Paul Frazier or somebody, right? Just anybody to have as a backup running back in case an injury happens. And in that way, I don't have to worry about it. But maybe it's for the best to wait, see if a good running back falls in another draft, and then we take him then. Again, we do need tight ends as well. Marshall could be one if we needed him to be. Do we have anybody 4th to 5th round? Volk and Thrash. Brian Potter? Absolutely not. Just get him off the board right now. Ray Holloway is still there. Okay, so we have Holloway, we have Holland and Strickland, Tofield. And I mean, we hedged our bets there. Dorsey, that agility is brutal. Like, I know he's a power rusher, but that agility is brutal. Taven Delocht, would it be? Pass coverage-wise, I mean, it's fairly solid in terms of speed and agility. He'd live up to it at least. And Ornstein, I mean, combine-wise, Jesus Christ. So if we were going to take another linebacker in this draft to be able to run 2 outside linebackers and 1 middle linebacker, Delocht would be the guy to take here. I could also look at filling out the corner core. Alan Gilliam is also okay. Yeah, all 3 of them are solid. And at safety, of course, we have McIntosh there still, which is not ideal. Perry Murphy also looking okay. Haynes Holloway. At 21, Haynes Holloway is looking pretty damn good. Okay, what do we look to do here? So again, there's Ricardo Marshall, who's very interesting. It's between Marshall, one of the defensive ends. Hopefully one of the linebackers are available in the next round. And I like all three corners as well. To be honest, I like those safeties too. Oh, God. All right. Please tell me that we have 3 wideouts now. I feel like I should take a defensive player. I'm going to take Ricardo Marshall because he could be moved over to tight end, and he would probably be just fucking ridiculous. Ricardo Marshall's the pick. I'll take it. A 73 at 22 years old, normal development, so he'll still have the opportunity to jump up to quick development. The thing for him, though, is I imagine he'll be at least a 77, 78, maybe even better if we move him over to tight end, which we probably will. Catching's not exactly as high as I would have thought, but yeah, he's a pretty decent option. Aggressive catch as well to switch over to tight end. So I don't know how I feel about that one, but we needed a tight end or another wide receiver, and we got one. And now it'll be interesting to see what happens from here as we end up with an offensive lineman, a wide receiver, a linebacker, and a defensive tackle. Let's see who's still on the board here. This is where it'll get interesting. So wide receiver-wise, tight end-wise, we'll pay attention if we have to. The O-line isn't in extreme need. Every single defensive lineman is gone. Every single safety's gone. So yeah, we'll take Stanley Dorsey. And we will, well, will we, though? That's right, he was the worst one. Shit. This is the problem with 7 picks a year. So we've at least added one more linebacker, right? But there are no other defensive players to take. And that's what I was afraid of. But there's no way. I mean, that wide receiver would have been off the board too. So time will tell whether or not we made an okay choice there. Stanley Dorsey, I mean, good hit power. Everything else, though, I'm not feeling it. Just no. I mean, to fill out the roster, maybe if we're desperate. But yeah, for now we're fine. So as far as who is on the board here, to be honest, it might make sense to take another tight end. It might make sense to take another wide receiver. Or we take one more O-lineman. And I think we'll take one of the 2 O-linemen. Walter Stupar, 22 years old, yikes. And Deontay Thrash, yikes. All right, let's just get them off the board. We might be taking a risk with random players at this point. Joey Fuller, 6'4", can't jump, isn't fast, doesn't have good hands, get out of here. Walter Bishop, absolutely not. Good hands, 6'6", but I mean, he just, no. Not digging it. Shaquan Swope. I mean, good bench press for a blocking tight end, but yikes. Just absolute, that's, I don't know, man, maybe. Kiefer Renee is at least well-rounded at 24. Probably prefer to take him. Julius Groves, again, a blocking tight end, good bench press, at least a little bit more well-rounded than the latter. Those stats are horrific. Barry Bentley, also well-rounded. So again, might not be the worst guy to take. Fernando Bishop, ridiculous agility, fairly well-rounded. No B grades, though. But could be worth it. I mean, I guess we're filling out this roster with tight ends at this point. Unless we want to take a risk on some players. But this is what it's looking like. Unfortunately, it is going to come down to be more of an, I wouldn't say more of an offensive draft. Linebacker, defensive tackle. It's a tough call. I mean, we still have 3 picks here, and the problem is all the half-decent players are off the board, or at least the ones that we had our eye on. So that is where it becomes a little bit problematic. So, I mean, in terms of the offensive line, Stupar is the only other one that we have scouted. You have someone like Sherman Alexis, where it's just like, it's absolutely not. Thrash was there, of course. I guess the big thing is there anybody on the O-line, or defensive line, I should say. Speed rusher, Voorhees Genus. Another speed rusher, and Johnny Barton. Someone else projected to be drafted. Run stopper, decent bench press, and Jarman Trapp. What about Lorenzo Hoskins? Absolutely not. Corey Foster? Absolutely not. Defensive tackle. Now, in fairness, we don't have a ton of these guys scouted out. Run stopper, good agility. You know, this might work here. I think we take one of the tight ends, whoever we think is the best available, and then we just fill out the roster with hoping for the best with one of these defensive players. And at the very least, they provide a little bit of depth, even if they're absolutely terrible, which they're likely to be, I would say. As, again, I hate how it does. It's like, oh, yeah, here's just a shitload of defensive tackles. Enjoy. Enjoy. So, I don't know. We'll compare these guys. And we'll just take the random guess at the end of this draft. And we'll see what happens. These two linebackers, though. Windsor, no. Julian Parks, no. Middle linebacker, nobody. Outside linebacker, Ornstein is still there, but again, just no. Duncan Hogans is a no. Sidney Fletcher, not completely terrible. And Roy Hartley, absolutely not. Barry Brutley, Jesus Christ, no, get out of here. Sean Fillon is a no. Reggie Fillon is a no. And Adonis Miller, decent speed, but is a no. So, aside from these safeties, which, let's be honest, I don't think any of them will be better than McIntosh, although... So, let's see, Nate Crawford was okay. Perhaps Morgan Mahaffey ends up being half decent? Is that too big of a case of wishful thinking? Everett McGarity, looking kind of rough. Pearson McKee, also looking kind of rough. Henry, not looking too good. Ely, not looking too good. Stevens, there's nothing. And Skinner, it was okay. So as far as the board is concerned now, I mean, again, we have the tight end options. We have some defensive line options. One linebacker, one safety. So I think we take whoever we think is the best tight end at the very least. We try to take one defensive line member and then either that linebacker or the safety. So Fernando Bishop, I mean 6'8", decent jumping, really good agility, C+ catching. So he has the best catching of the group. Bentley is extremely well-rounded at 6'5", and Renee is at 6'2", extremely well-rounded as well. I think it's got to be Bentley, right? Let's do it. Barry Bentley is the pick. He is a 71 at 22 years old, so nothing too crazy, but he will help fill out the roster, and at the very least, I'm thinking it's shaping up that we're going to have probably 2 tight end options this season, so we'll see how that goes. Obviously, we're not expecting to find, the miracle pick here, but we're able to fill out the roster, which is nice. We're going to take the linebacker, Sidney Fletcher. We'll hope for the best. 65, quick development. 3'11" in true talent. Well, there you go. That's what happens when all the half-decent players end up going off the board fairly quickly. But still, he provides us a little bit of depth and is at least slightly better, ever so slightly better, than who we already had. And we'll get one other defensive option here to round things out, and it's going to be Trapp because he's the only one left, and he is a 66. So yeah, nothing too crazy. There was a comment that called it out that this draft, I think it was Derek Klein, that called it out that this draft was looking like it might be kind of poor beyond the 4th round. It absolutely was. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the top players in this draft. So in the first round, Craig Moten went number 1. Jesus Christ, I know he's 24, but my God. So Gamble ended up going directly after. Quick development at 21, so he would have been okay. Ricks finished 3rd in voting. Quick development, 79 overall, 22 years old. I mean, he's a year older. If Christie goes up to quick development, it at least worked out relatively okay. Bryant Campbell, quick development at a 78, 22. Pierce Ball, 80 overall, quick development. Glenn Easy was someone else we were considering. 79 overall, quick development at 21. Pershing Simpson. Preston Emerson, I believe we put on the list. He's also pretty good. Cedric Holmes, I think, was also on the list. He was kind of meh. Tate Sparks, Grissom, and here comes Baldwin. Mike Rattay, for the record. Pretty damn good. So here we go. Moment of truth on Baldwin. Quick development, 77 to 22. So overall, we did okay with Christie. I don't totally regret it. There were some better players as well that we weren't even considering. Nate Osika, quick development for him. And I think that was basically everybody that we were considering. Let's move over to round 2. Again, we took Ofenheusle. Ish Ransom was just kind of average. Who else were we considering? Morgan Oliver was available. No way to know he was going to be star, but that still hurts. Angel Dyer ended up being just kind of there. Was there anybody else? Nduku and Ndekwe was just kind of okay. So nobody that I totally regret missing out on outside of, hindsight being what it is. Henry Waddy at tight end ended up being normal. So we did okay there, all things considered. Let's see, who else was there? Third round, we took BJ Long. This will be interesting. Terrell Olsen, normal development for him. Dre Carradine, 73 overall. Let's see, Patrick Savage at tight end, normal development for him. Kimmerin at tight end. Yeah, so it fell off pretty sharply. Here's the fullback. How good is he? Normal. Wow. I thought he would have been a little bit better. That would have been a big time waste of a pick then. So Addison Lamb, star at 24, so it doesn't hurt as much. And then into the 4th round, Brian Bass was there. We ended up with Ricardo Marshall. Perry Murphy's going to be great, isn't he? Yeah, not really, but he would have been better than who we had. And Adonis Tofield might have been better than who we ended up with. So there is that. And the middle linebacker, quick development of 22. So again, I'd say we could have done a little bit better. All things considered, though, I think we did okay, given the circumstances of it being a weaker draft. We do bring in a little bit of help. Right now, we're shaping up to be a 72-rated squad, although obviously I need to fill out the team, so that overall is going to go down. Give me a minute. I'll be back, and we will have this team set up for the season. This year's squad is set. We are currently boasting our highest ever overall at a 70. Again, slowly but surely, things are starting to come together for this team. It is still going to be a while, I would think, before we start finding continued success. Joey McCormick starts the season at an 87 at 23 years old as well with that star development. So talk about maybe not having a player hit 90. McCormick has a decent chance. Jamon Hughes at an 81, quick development for the 24-year-old. Graham Weaver at fullback starts at a 70 overall, normal development for the 24-year-old. At wideout, Jamius Mack leads the way, quick development for the 24-year-old. Marcus Farrell, or Farrell, 75 overall to start the season. Steven Jenkins also ours, normal development for the 24-year-old. We move over to tight end, though. Ricardo Marshall, starting at a 79 overall. Now that we've moved him over to tight end, we also have Barry Bentley, who we drafted. He starts off at a 71. So tight end-wise, we're looking okay. Starting left tackle is Carter Schlueter, star development for the 23-year-old. Left guard is the rookie Ray Ofenheusle, starting at a 76. At center, we have Quinn Kropog. 24-year-old is a 74 to start the season. Right guard is Noah Anderson, 73 overall. We moved him over from center. And starting right tackle is Rashawn Price, or Rashawn Price, depending on where the emphasis lies. Starting left end, Jarman Trapp, the 7th round selection. Starting right end is nobody. Nobody at all. But defensive tackle, we have George Christie and Devin Walls. Christie, normal development still. We'll see what happens throughout the course of the year. Devin Walls, still normal development as he continues to take up a roster spot. I believe Walls is the starting right end, though, technically. A left outside linebacker, we still have Demetrios Brooks, star development for the 25-year-old, which doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. Middle linebacker, we've moved over B.J. Long, the 23-year-old rookie, and Sidney Fletcher, just to play that out and hopefully get them some playing time. Frank King still leading the way as far as the linebackers are concerned at an 82. At corner, still just a hell of a combination here with Le'Veon Cole at 26 years old and Darian Meyer. Going with Darian Meyer. Quick development for the 23-year-old. At safety, we have Kyrie Griffith. Star development for the 23-year-old. And at strong safety, Antoine McIntosh is still there. Star development for the 26-year-old. Don't think that's going to work out for him. Our kicker, 26-year-old Eric Rasmussen. And our punter, your favorite and mine, Bruce Tuten. That is the team. Those are your Cardinals for the season. Let's get going, shall we? Not sure how much we'll sim. It depends on how well we do. Despite having a stronger squad this season, we haven't exactly been up to the same level. I mean, 3-12 on the year, not exactly making the strides that I was afraid we were going to make in terms of winning 5 or more games. We'll see what happens here against Seattle. I do not know if we are locked in as the worst team in the league. We kind of have to hope that we lose this game, and we don't. We win 33-27. Let's take a look as I slam my finger on the desk. That was great. Between the desk and the controller, felt great. Detroit is the best team in the league. Where did we finish? 30th. So we will have probably, the number 3 pick in the draft, which is okay, but when you see some of the players that are available in this draft, it is kind of frustrating to not end up with the number 1 pick, and you'll see what I mean in a moment, as Aaron Rodgers wins league MVP. Coach of the Year goes to the totally not Bill Belichick in Detroit. So we have that. AFC awards, again, just going to run through it because it's not as relevant or prevalent. Relevant, not prevalent. Baldwin ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year. Not as relevant to what we're doing here in the NFC, of course. So there's no chance of us winning any of these awards. So there is that. But yeah, let's get through that. NFC, Offensive Player of the Year. No nominees. Defensive Player of the Year. No nominees. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Ricardo Marshall finished in second, which is promising. Defensive Rookie of the Year, B.J. Long is in third. Fletcher in sixth. Christie in seventh. Pretty disappointing. And granted, the voting is screwed, but still pretty disappointing. Best running back, nobody up there, unfortunately. Best wide receiver, nobody there. Best O-line, nothing. Best D-line, nothing. Best linebackers, no one. Best defensive back, no one. Best kicker, Rasmussen in 10th. So not a banner year for the Cardinals by any stretch of the imagination. We'll take a quick look at the standings in full. So the AFC North goes to the Browns. AFC South, Texans win the division. Jags make it as well. Bills win the AFC East. Dolphins also playoff bound. And in the AFC West, the Chargers win it. In the NFC North, of course, the Lions win it. The Packers are also playoff bound. Saints win the NFC South. NFC East to the Cowboys. And NFC West to the Rams. The Seahawks have also made it. We'll see who ends up winning out as far as that is concerned. Stats-wise, let's take a look. So the team stats, first and foremost. In terms of total yardage, we had the worst offense in the league. We had, surprisingly, not the fewest passing yards, fourth fewest offensive yards in general. We looked at the whole total thing. Passing yards, we were relatively up there. I mean, compared to where you think we'd be. Well, look at that. Almost 4,000 passing yards in the year. We had the fewest rushing yards by a large margin and only averaged 15.8 points a game. 25 passing touchdowns on the season, only 3 rushing touchdowns, which is brutal. Defensively, we allowed the most yardage total. We allowed our pass defense was okay. Yeah, our pass defense is pretty solid. But our rush defense, we got ripped to shreds. So there's that. Only 19 sacks on the season as well. 10 interceptions. Let's take a look at individual players. And we'll take a look around the league as well. So McCormick, over 3,900 yards on the season, 25 touchdowns, 11 picks. So not terrible. Or rushing-wise, Hughes did miss a little bit of time due to injury, so just over 500 yards, no touchdowns on the year. Receiving-wise, Mack led the way with 76 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Ricardo Marshall, 70 receptions, just under 800 yards with 4 touchdowns. Marcus Farrell, 65 receptions, just under 900 yards with 7 touchdowns. Steven Jenkins did okay. He missed a little bit of time due to injury. And Hughes with the receiving touchdown as well. Got that going for us. Blocking-wise, let's take a look. Not a great year for Carter Schlueter. Might have to move him off of that left tackle spot. It's been pretty rough. Defensively, in terms of total tackles, Antoine McIntosh led the way. Frank King and Demetrios Brooks were up there as well. Sacks-wise, Brooks led the way. Interception-wise, it was B.J. Long, middle linebacker, leading the way in terms of interceptions. Rasmussen, 17 of 23 on field goal duty. And Bruce Tuten, only 3,300 yards this time as opposed to, what was it, like 4K at one point in time? Let's look around the league quickly before we move on. NFL-wise, so Russell Hape leads the way, one of 2 quarterbacks for over 4,600 yards, but Aaron Rodgers, 43 touchdowns and 4 picks, won the MVP, of course. Only 2 quarterbacks broke the 40 touchdown mark. Marcus Mariota, 17 picks. That's a little bit rough. Rushing-wise, Ezekiel Elliott leads the way, which is not shocking. Kareem Hunt ended up in Seattle. Touchdown-wise, also Ezekiel Elliott's. No surprise whatsoever. Receiving-wise, D.D. Westbrook was up there for total receptions. The yardage leader, also Westbrook. The touchdown leader, also Westbrook. Although a 4-way tie with some other players, including Cooper Kupp. In terms of the defense, Miles Jack with the most total tackles. Baldwin was second. The sack leader was Khalil Mack. And interception-wise, it was Jalen Ramsey. So I think that pretty much covers everything. I hope, at the very least. We did see some development. Unfortunately, I mean, obviously some guys are going to be down, but like McCormick up to an 88. Things are looking okay. We're still a 70 rated team, however. So we'll see what happens there. Staff-wise, we are okay. So let's move forward. Let's do this. I want to get to the draft as soon as possible. Let's wrap this episode up. I want to give you guys a look at the options that will be available to you to vote on with what I believe will be the number 3 pick. It's Bills and Rams in the Super Bowl. Pro Bowl-wise, did we have any representation? It's not looking too good here, unfortunately. Stammer ended up making it. Someone we were considering drafting previously. No representation from the looks of it. So, a season to forget in that way. Again, the squad's coming together. We only end up winning 3 games, though it kind of offsets. In terms of scouting, here's what I was worried about. There are some very strong linebackers in this draft that I'm very intrigued by, including Darby Clem and Anthony Carlisle. So we'll see what happens there. Secondary is where we are currently scouting. I'm just going to burn through these points. When does it get a little bit crazy? Yeah, we're going to, you know what, we'll stop at the end of the 3rd round here because I still have to scout out safeties. Everything else has been scouted except for quarterback. Running back's been taken care of. The offensive line has been taken care of. Defensive line's been taken care of. Linebacker-wise, it's been taken care of. So it's just the secondary that we need to wrap up here, and we'll see if we can find any strong options that might be in contention for being number 1 pick worthy. There is that chance there. So the Super Bowl, who's it going to go to? Bills or Rams? It is the Rams, 24-22. They continue their dominance. In terms of re-signing, we did have to re-sign some of our main players, but there's nobody there that we have to worry about. So that's all taken care of. It was interesting to have to, re-sign a punter to half decent money just to keep him. $123 million in cap space. Call it a hunch. Don't think we're going to have to worry about it. Let's focus on the scouting for now. I'm very intrigued to see who's going to be available for us in this draft. So again, let's just, actually here, we can just get all the strong safeties scouted. get that taken care of. And let's go back to corners. We'll go through the 4th round. Again, wouldn't be against trying to get that little bit of extra depth at corner. And in terms of safety as well, I'm sure we'll potentially pick up someone else. Not Mike McManus, as it turns out. Not Mr. McManus. We move on. We have 2 more scouting sessions. We'll get to the draft and see how everything goes down for us. But I'm intrigued. It was a decent season in terms of development. I'll give you one more look before we end the episode here. But it was a decent season in terms of development. Obviously, the results weren't there, but we don't want the results to be there yet. I think that's the one thing where I'm not exactly anxious to see us do incredibly well, as I'm going to waste the points on QBs from here because we have everything else scouted. So perhaps there is a can't-miss quarterback who falls down the board. Not that we need him, but, you know, a little bit of depth has never hurt anybody. Like I said, there's nobody else to scout, so we might as well just burn through the points just in case somebody half-decent falls down the list. And again, we are good. Everyone's been scouted outside of some 7th round options. I'm not even going to use the points. Well, I should use the points, shouldn't I? Yeah, let's do it. Let's not be lazy in that way. We'll take a look at 7th round options. Yeah, I mean, you never know. There might be one guy who's still half decent, although the answer appears to be apparently not. So we'll be fine. We will be fine. Let's move on. We'll do that quick recap of what happened in free agency, just so you guys can get a look at where some of the top players have gone, and then it's to the draft. So an 85 overall seemed to be the limit for high-end talent. Russell Hape just nearly won MVP, and he just signed in Washington. So he's got that going for him. Well, let's do this. To another draft we go. Again, once this team really starts to take shape, it's not going to be like, oh, let me sim through the entire season in one shot. We're going to be going week by week like we did in the Bills series. But for now, it makes no sense when we're going to be terrible to handle it that way. So let's see who Washington ends up taking. They take 84 BJ Landry, and the Raiders take Manningham. Ooh, that's a good opening for us here to do something. So taking a look at the draft board again, quarterback-wise, if somebody drops, we'll ponder it. Same thing for the running backs. I don't think we'd want to take any, but, well, I mean, running back, it would make more sense to take somebody with the 1st round pick than it would quarterback, obviously. So someone like LaMarcus McClover, who has a great name, in terms of top skills, looks pretty good. Combine results, he's okay. Decent agility, strong bench press for a power back. Kevin Pitts, that's not Kevin, that's Kevin. Again, another power back who looks pretty damn strong, I got to admit. Xavier Spain, 24 years old, probably not who we want to take. Delano Stevens, another receiving back, but not looking all that bad. DeMarcus Renaud, an elusive back who looks ridiculous. And here's the thing, if any of these guys fall to the 2nd round, we take them because they might be better than who we already have. But yeah, DeMarcus Renaud looked ridiculous. Wide receiver-wise, we have 3 options, including Shamir Fitzgerald, who again looks ridiculous. And at least in terms of route running, he's fast as hell at 21, but he's not tall, and the vert jump isn't that great. He doesn't have great hands either, so probably not. But I mean, he's a track star at the very least. JT Owens, 6'5", ridiculous jumping, really good hands. Could be worth taking, but he's 23, so he's not going to have as much development time. And then there's Houston Shockley, another 23-year-old, who's a bit average. So we have someone who's tall as hell, who can jump, someone who's rapid as hell, and someone who's a little bit more well-rounded. Tight end-wise, no one we'd concern ourselves with the number 3 pick. For left tackles, we have Solomon Dillon, who is ridiculous for a left tackle. Just absolutely ridiculous. Left guard, nobody. At center, we have Clem Allison, who isn't looking that good. Got to admit. Probably not number 3 overall pick worthy. There's also Noah Rollins, who is looking pretty good, I got to admit. And at right tackle, nobody. So not the great draft in terms of high-end O-line talent. On the defensive line, we have Will Graham out of Auburn, who is looking pretty good, admittedly. Very well-rounded for a 21-year-old, at least in terms of combine results. And defensive tackle, the only other guy we'd consider taking here in the first round, it's Griffin Chapman, the 22-year-old out of Texas A&M. Left outside linebacker, we have Trey Boston, the 23-year-old. Again, fairly well-rounded, maybe not the best option, though, based off of other talent available. Middle linebacker, though, is where it gets really interesting. Darby Clem. There was the debate, as you might hear that truck outside, there was the debate over whether, you definitely hear that truck outside. How could you not? It sounds like it's coming through the wall. There was the debate over whether or not we should take a linebacker in the first round last year. Darby Clem. Darby Clem. That's all I'm saying, man. But then there's also Anthony Carlisle, who's looking pretty good, but I think it's got to be Clem, right? There's also Graham Stacy, who, and Trey Gilmore, Darby Clem, man, looks like a beast. There's also Kevin Golucky out of Texas A&M, who also looks like a beast, but we already have our two starting corners for the most part. At safety, Dixon Anderson, who at 6'3", with that vert jump, that speed, and that agility, looks absurd. Gordon Richards as well looks ridiculous. I mean, we do need another safety to replace McIntosh. If one of these guys fall to the second round, that could be the place to do it. So every single person we just mentioned, every person projected to go in the first round, except for the quarterbacks, will be listed on the poll. It's up to you guys to decide who we are taking with this number 3 pick. And again, the rest of the selections will be up to me. The players selected thus far, basically the team depth chart of players that belong to us, is listed in the description. So check that out if you need a reminder. And we are pretty much done here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Glad you're enjoying the series. Again, uploads are consistent, or as consistent as they can possibly be for the moment. Let me know if I missed anything, because admittedly, I'm not going to say I rushed through this episode, but I got stuff to do. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting this series, and I will see you in the next one.